A term sheet for a multi-million-dollar foreign loan just landed on your desk. Your client is ready to sign, and they want to know if the deal structure works. In domestic lending, this is simply a private commercial contract, but under FEMA, borrowing money from abroad creates a foreign liability. That makes it a highly regulated capital account transaction. Welcome to Module F5, External Commercial Borrowings, or ECB. This is the framework that dictates exactly how cross-border debt operates in India. Before you look at the interest rates or repayment schedules, you have to confirm that this specific capital inflow actually qualifies as an ECB under the law. If you classify it wrong, or skip a step before the funds cross the border, the transaction is in immediate regulatory contravention, and the funds are frozen. The first step in evaluating a debt file is locating the correct regulatory stack. You cannot find the answers by stopping at the parent FEMA statute. Looking at this decision tree, we have to trace the rules downward. We start at the FEMA statute, drop into the capital account rules, and land directly in the RBI's borrowing and lending regulations. That specific source stack provides the master directions. That is the exact rulebook the authorized dealer, or AD bank, will use to either clear or block your client's funds. An advisor cannot confidently structure a foreign loan without anchoring every single clause in the term sheet to this multi-tiered hierarchy. Once a transaction is classified as an ECB, it enters a tightly controlled corridor. This is not a freely negotiated agreement between private parties. First, the Indian entity must be an eligible borrower, and the foreign entity a recognized lender. Next, the amount must sit within financial limits, meeting the minimum average maturity period. Finally, the RBI caps the all-in cost and dictates permitted end uses. Think of these rules as a strict funnel. If the term sheet fails even one of these 6 constraints, the loan cannot proceed as a compliant ECB. Commercial lending involves risk, which means the foreign lender will almost certainly require a security package. This usually takes the form of a charge over the Indian borrower's assets. Granting a foreign entity rights over Indian assets is entirely different from securing a domestic loan. It requires strict adherence to FEMA's security creation rules. The AD bank acts as the gatekeeper here. They are required to verify that the security package complies with the law before a single dollar is allowed to be drawn down. Structuring the security correctly at the term sheet stage prevents enforcement deadlocks and major regulatory breaches down the line. Clearing the parameters and signing the loan agreement only gets you halfway there. Now, the focus shifts entirely to transaction control and reporting. Looking at the compliance timeline, there's an absolute prerequisite. The borrower must file Form ECB to obtain a loan registration number, an LRN, before the first drawdown. Then comes the maintenance phase. The borrower files Form ECB2 every month to report debt status and track servicing payments. Under FEMA, failing to execute these procedural reporting steps carries the exact same legal weight as breaching the substantive rules of the loan itself. If a deadline on that timeline slips, the advisor must step in immediately and navigate the late submission fee framework to regularize the delay. By the end of this module, you will have 3 core capabilities. First, you'll classify a transaction as an ECB and locate its source stack. Second, you'll test the transaction against the 6 core parameters. Third, you'll manage the compliance lifecycle, from initial registration to monthly reporting. Open the module interactions below and let's start mapping the debt file.